Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of News You Can Use. I'm your host, Thera Martin Milling, and so glad to be with you. We are at the end of 2014. This year has gone so quickly, I don't know what happened yet, but I'm excited and feeling positive about the good things that can come and can happen in 2015. Today on our program, I am so excited. We're going to have Reverend Buck with us. He is the pastor of Berean Baptist Church in North Philadelphia, and he is making things happen. We'll tell that story in just a little bit. And then when we turn the page a little bit later on in the program, we're going to talk with a young man who is just flipping Germantown upside down. He's a community activist, and he is somebody who's on the move and making things happen. He's not just talking about what he's going to do, he's doing it. So we'll tell the story of Jeff Templeton in the second part of our program. And then before we wind it down on the year 2014, Dr. Donnie Patterson will join us with some health tips and some good sense tips as well. So stay along with us for the ride. We'll be back with our first guest in North Philadelphia. We're going to keep it moving on this show as we go forward. We're going to be talking with a young man who is just fiery. I love his spirit. I met him when he knocked on my door about a year ago, maybe a little less than a year ago. And he started talking, and he had flyers in his hand, and I see him all the time going through the community, but he's not just talking, he's making things happen. I'm talking about Jeff Templeton. We'll be back to tell his story in a moment. Stay with us. We're continuing now with our program, and I am so glad to be able to say hello. If you just turned your television set on, you missed a little bit of News You Can Use, but we still got the best yet to come. I'm the host, Thera Martin Milling, glad to be with you here at LaSalle TV. And joining me right now, I have a very special guest sitting by my side, Mr. Jeff Templeton. He is from the Germantown community, and that's how I first met him. In fact, I first met you. You knocked on my door, and you introduced yourself. You said you were running for committee person, and your message was just nice. You just came across like a decent person. And I said, I'm going to vote for this guy. I decided that day, the first time I met you, I'm going to vote for this guy. And I just see you doing so much work in the community, and I don't think you're funded. Like, I don't think anybody's dropping whole lots of checks and money to get you to do stuff, but you're like, determined you're going to do some good programming, and you've been doing it. You're not just talking, you're making it happen.
I am, and thank you so much for having me on the show. I decided to run for committee person because I wanted to see real, tangible change in our community. I don't think we utilize our youth enough for a lot of the things that are going on in the community, and they need to be more involved. And one of the promises that I had was that I was going to be effective as possible in our community and also work with other committee people within the area. We just did a feeding for our seniors, a Thanksgiving feeding for our seniors, where I teamed up with Cheryl Moraine, and it was a phenomenal turnout. We had about 50 people show up, and turkey, it was great, mashed potatoes, it was, everyone was really digging the event. And the one before that, it was a community breakfast, where we also used the youth, again, once again, to interact with the community, because it's important, again, moving forward, to use our youth as much as possible. So
now, where are you getting your ideas, and where are you getting your spirit and your energy? Because we need to duplicate you at least 1,000 times over just for Germantown, so that we can get more cohesive and start seeing more positive things happen for our neighborhood.
Well, I get my inspiration from God, to be honest with you. I pray a lot, and I think that He provides me with a lot of these answers and techniques to go at the community with.
Then you must be obedient, because see, God gives me stuff too. I have to confess, God gives me stuff like all the time, like ideas, like visions that can't possibly come from me. I mean, I'd like to think I'm a smart woman, but I ain't that smart.
I'm not always obedient.
God gives it to me, and then He says, like, do it. And then sometimes I stumble and I don't do it. But when I listen and I do it, it's excellent.
Yeah,
because He said do it.
I'm not always obedient. But I did hear one of the callings that I think that was really good to move in on, and that was I founded a nonprofit organization called Speak, which stands for Staying Positive Equals Amazing Kids, and it is a wonderful nonprofit organization, and we focus on providing educational information and activities that encourage youth to become responsible members of our community. Some of the things that we also provide are community service projects for youth to take part in. Now, as you know, this is especially important because, you know, in order for some students to graduate, they must first accumulate a certain amount of community service hours. We also provide a ton of other things, like some of the programs that we're offering is our Golden Ticket Incentive Program, where we actually reward children for their academic achievements. We're working with a few schools right now, John Story Jenks, Anthony Wayne Academy, and John B. Kelly. That's in Germantown. So, and the students love it. And we also have a Golden Ticket Shadowing Program where children actually have a chance to shadow public figures in the workspace. Councilwoman Cindy Bass is a shadower. So is Judge Giovanni Campbell. So this is a great inspiration for children to be a part of, and it removes any intimidation that they may see, you know, looking at it from the outside.
Okay. Now, I know that, you know, to have an idea is one thing. To make it happen, again, can be a whole nother ball field. Are you able to get some level of support, like a Cindy Bass? Does she say, oh, Jeff, I love what you're doing. I'm going to find you some activities fund money or something to help fuel the fire to keep things going for these great programs you're offering?
Sure. Cindy Bass is very supportive. My biggest challenge is finding people within the community who are going to be dedicated and be honest to the youth that we're working with. That is such an, you know, it seems to be the biggest task, to be honest with you. I see a lot of resistance come from the adults more than the children. The children are open to anything, you know. They're like, hey, if it's fun, I'm with it, you know. You know, we have our annual community service event down in Love Park, where we give children that chance to accumulate their community service hours. And we just had it this November, where we fed the homeless. In fact, I think I saw you in
it was November 8th.
November 8th. And
that I missed it.
Yeah, I mentioned it to you.
Yes.
And it was a great turnout. We had about just over 200 people show up. And we had the Boy Scouts come out, and they did their thing. And, you know.
That's so good.
You know, you can find a ton of information just on our website alone at Philly.
I like the idea that you don't just stay in Germantown then with some of the activities that you do, because another thing that I found, some of the youth, some of the young people that I've met in our community in Germantown, right around Schoolhouse Lane and Coulter and all that, kids who've never been any further than Germantown or North Philly maybe, who never got to Atlantic City or Wildwood or not even the Penn's Landing. Are you kidding me? There are children who live in this city, and that's their world, where that little radius of where they live and they go to school. And that's like insane crazy to me. And so, again, I love hearing what you're doing, and you're taking kids out and you're letting them see that there's a bigger part of Philadelphia than just Germantown, or there's a bigger part of the world than just Philadelphia.
Yeah, one of the great things that I want to mention is that with our councilwoman, what she's allowing children to do is to come into City Hall and shadow her during a session, a council session. And a lot of people don't know exactly what goes on in City Hall. Even some adults, you'd be surprised.
I know.
They have no clue what goes on in City Hall or even what goes on in the council meetings. So that's a really great encouragement for children. And the last one actually left and said, you know what, Mom, I think I might wind up becoming a politician.
Which is a segue to the next thing I want to talk to you about in the 2.5 minutes or so that we have left. I'm not trying to make you a city council person today or tomorrow, or a state rep or a state senator. However, the reality is you are a committee person now. Can you just talk real briefly so that people who are out there wondering, well, how do I get started in politics? I would think that the committee person level is where you might want to start.
Right, it is.
So how do you do that piece?
Well, first of all, you might want to look into it a little bit, the responsibilities of the committee person. Start right there, and if it looks like you can run with the responsibilities of it, then talk to some more people in the community. Talk to your ward leader and get some feedback from them and get their experiences, because they were once a committee person as well. So, and then, you know, there's also the Committee of 70, and everything is online, so you can find out just about everything online. So.
And the reality is there's some work to be done. There's some door knocking. You got to walk. You can't just say, oh, I want to be a committee person. And you can do the paperwork and the filing and get your name on the ballot, I would guess. But you got to do some work. You got to talk to people. You got to shake some hands, kiss some babies.
Yeah, that was one of the most challenging things I've ever done, was walk up all those steps. I felt like an addition to Rocky. I walked up so many steps and talked to so many people, but that was great. You know, that's what a committee man is about. Being about it's interacting with your community and being there for them. You know, they may have problems that you might need to, you know, they need to help with, and that you'll be able to help them fix them.
Well, having met you, before you were a committee person, and watching you win says to me that you obviously did some things right. I wish you well with your future endeavors. I wish you well as a committee person.
Thank you.
And I see where you're already making a difference in the community.
Thank you so much.
We thank you for being a part of our community.
That means a lot. Thank
Keep
you so
up
much,
the
Steve.
good work.
Thank you.
And thank you for bringing Cheryl Mulrain, even though we don't see her on set today. Now she knows where the studio is, and I know she'll be back at another time, perhaps with you again. There's a whole lot of great things happening at Happy Hollow and throughout that whole community, and we want to blast it to the world and tell people about it.
Germantown's a wonderful place.
Yes, it is. I agree. All righty, we're going to keep it moving as we wind it down on this last show for the year of 2014. We're getting ready to head on over to Dr. Donnie Patterson. She's got some health tips. And to our viewers, we thank you for checking us out on News You Can Use. Be positive as we go into this new year. I think if there was any New Year's resolution that all of us could make, possibly, that would be to be kinder to each other, to speak to each other, to talk neighborly to each other, and to love our city and respect our city and not to trash our city, and just be positive as we go forward. So Happy New Year, everybody. Peace and blessings from all of us here at LaSalle TV. And to you, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care, everybody. Happy New Year.